Joe Schmidt's Wallabies, folks. 2 wins from 2. 36-28 winners over Wales. I still don't think it's all doom and gloom for Wales. But man, do they have some costly errors. The Wallabies have got a knack of turning some seemingly ordinary stuff into a bit of brilliance. And for Wales, man, how many missed chances. Maul still looks incredibly effective. We'll go through some key events and stats. You guys can let us know your thoughts. Remember, the Wallabies have still got Georgia coming up, so still one more game in their July series. And the Welsh have got a non-test game up against the Queensland Reds. Now, this game, I mean, it started pretty tentatively. A bit of kicking back and forth as both sides tried to get a bit of territorial dominance, but the Australians turned some pretty ugly hands into some absolute magic. I mean, they had knocked the ball on, given Wales a bit of possession. But then when they finally got the ball back in their own 22, chucking the ball around, bounce pass to Tom Wright under all kinds of pressure. He shovels it on. Kellaway ends up with it. And then from there, under pressure, a little bit of confidence shown from Kellaway to avoid the on-rushing Welsh defence. Little dink over the top. Chases hard. Taps it down. McReight's able to get it from that tip. He puts some gas in the midfield. Dyer's chasing back to try and catch him, but then he's able to get the ball to Daugunu. It's a Wallabies try out of nowhere. No real rights to score that, but boy, that's what I mean about this Wallabies side. Like, they were looking god-awful, just putting themselves under all kinds of pressure, and they end up getting 7 points from it. Incredible. Great confidence and great skills from the guys to do that from their own goal area. Pretty gutting for Wales. And then 10 points to nil not too long later after the Wallabies had gone 20 phases and a couple of advantages. So really, really promising start from them. And then from Wales on return, what do? They miss a shot at goal. Both of them gets tackled into touch by Daugunu, close to the Aussie line. And they get held up after a loose Aussie line out. So any chances the Welsh had to get points, they managed to convert 0 of at least 3 solid chances. Whereas the Australians, after weathering that Welsh storm, 24 minutes, go down the other end. It's basically 1 chance, 1 score. It's a box kick from Jake Gordon. Winnett just can't handle it. He drops it. Not quite cold, but he makes a bit of a meal of it. And Gordon is there to pounce on it. Shows some great power and gas to finish it off. And you're looking at 17-0 to the Wallabies. Wales are absolutely staring down the barrel of what's possibly going to be a pretty embarrassing result. But no, they actually manage to get back on track anyway with that maul. It was their best weapon of last week. Almost got them 2 tries. Remember, one was chalked off, but it gets them a try pretty much first attempt. Going back down. Not long after conceding the Jake Gordon try, to be fair. It just barrels straight through the Wallabies defence. Hot knife through butter stuff. Very concerning for the Wallabies because you can bet your bottom dollar with the Rugby Championship just around the corner. The All Blacks are going to be looking at that. The Pumas are going to be looking at that. The Springboks are going to be looking at that going, that's a real chink in the Wallabies' armour thus far. Dewey Lake goes over for the Welsh. 17 points to 7 is looking a bit better for the Welsh. But this Welsh side, so frustrating. They concede a penalty straight from the restart. McReight gets over the ball. So that 7 points that the Welsh have just got back kind of becomes 4 because it makes it 20 points to 7 to the Wallabies. Later on, there's a TMO check for a tackle from Lukhan Salakaia-Loto on Archie Griffin. Taller man up against the shorter man. It's shoulder to head. I did feel like Salakaia-Loto got a pretty decent bend in there, but it's still deemed to be foul play. So he gets himself yellow carded and off for a review. Fortunately for him and for the game, I guess, the yellow comes back as just a yellow. I was pretty happy with that because it's not like he went in super upright, but it's still a yellow card nonetheless. And then credit to Wales with the big lock forward off the bench. They smell blood with this maul that they've got going. They go for touch. They maul it, and it's try time. So the Wallabies have gone from a 17-0 pretty comfortable looking lead, and now it's 20 points to 14. So, yeah, credit to Wales for getting themselves back into the game. But again, they concede a bloody penalty from the restart. I don't know how you do it, Welsh fans. You must need a few stiff drinks after watching some of that. It's just pulling your hair out kind of stuff. Gats is going to be aging. looking at that. So 23-14. Yellow card to remain a yellow. The news comes down from the TMO, but yeah, a bit frustrating from Wales to follow up a good play with something less than phenomenal. But I mean, got to give credit to the Wallabies, I guess, for chasing those restarts hard. Wales, to be fair, did defensively hold out a Wallabies kind of push right before halftime, so at least only go into the sheds with a 9-point deficit, which is certainly better than the 17-point deficit they were staring down the barrel of after, just after 20-odd minutes. Possessions, 55% of the Wallabies at halftime. They've had more run meters, 250 to 143. But remember, a lot of those would have been clocked up with the big kind of length of the field try. Wallabies have had more defenders beaten 6-2, more line breaks 3-1. Where the Welsh are doing all right is their mauls and their territory. Second half, Wales continue to have a few issues. Cale for the Wallabies steals some Welsh line-out ball. The Wallabies are able to see out the remainder of the Salakaia-Loto card, so it comes back to 15 apiece. The overall deficit for the yellow card period for the Wallabies, only 4 points, so not too bad. 46 minutes, Wales go 13 phases. And it looks like the backs are never going to get the ball. You're waiting for a guy like McReight to get over the ball and pinch it to snuff out another Welsh chance, but no. We actually get some nice Welsh backline hands popping the ball through. It's Ben Thomas to Winnett to Liam Williams. He strolls over for a try. 2-point ball game, 23-21. Then we have the only one that was really slow in this game was a TMO check for not that much going on. Like this weekend and last weekend's games, I feel like have been all right thus far for being relatively free of long checks for just kind of penalties. The Ireland game in South Africa certainly had a few TMO interventions, but that was its own kettle of fish. But we did have a long TMO intervention on 50 minutes for Liam Williams and Lukhan Salakaia-Loto getting into a bit of a stoush because there'd been a bit of a hand to the face from Williams on Cale. Slows the game right down, unfortunately, because it had been kind of going at a hiss and a raw pace. But the final conclusion is that the first infringement was by the Welsh. And Salakaia-Loto probably, if he's already had one yellow card, needs to be smarter and not get involved in that kind of thing, to be honest. But yeah, that ends up with the Wallabies being awarded a penalty. On 53 minutes, we see that the Aussies also want to go for a wee maul, but their maul's not quite as effective as the Welsh. That being said, if the maul gets stopped, give it to the forwards. Allan Alaalatoa is able to burrow over from relatively close range. He continues his job share role with Taniela Tupou, but basically playing kind of half the game each. Conversion hits the post, but now we're at 28-21. Something of a kind of a more comfortable one for the Wallabies. Can Wales hit back? Close. But Valetini for the Wallabies is able to win a penalty on the Wallabies' own goal line. And then Wales. I'm talking about the frustration. I mean, it's similar to last week's game with Ireland against South Africa, where you really have to be careful keeping those penalty kicks in. Like, it's a soft penalty for Wales to be conceding in the first place for obstruction. And then Liam Williams keeps a touch finder kick in play, and the ball just goes straight to Filipo Daugunu, who, to his credit, like Colby last week, is chasing that touch kick real hard. So it is an absolute gift of a try. 33-21. As I mentioned, Welsh fans by that point must be pulling your hair out. They got a gift in return because Nick White got his box kick charged down. A Welsh quick hand sent Rio Dyer over. He smashed Lolesio, who got immediately subbed afterwards. So 33-28 was right back to game on. But Wales did have one more penalty they would concede before full time. But they still had chances to win it, man. They had a line out right down Australia's end, which they lost. And then the resulting line out from the Aussie clearance, which was on halfway, which they lost. So just those key moments let the Welsh down, I feel like. Whereas the Wallabies, like, they took some chances. Like, even the ones that weren't even really chances, they turned, stuff into gold. at times when they didn't seem to have any rights to. But, you know, if the skill set's up there and you can get away with it, do it. So, yeah, possession finishes 50-50. Territory finishes 60-40 to Wales. But Australia with more run meters, 416 to 269. More clean breaks, 5-3. More defenders beaten, 12-10. That's pretty low. Both sides' tackling percentage is pretty high, despite the fact that we still saw quite a few tries scored. But remember, like the 2 late tries, there's no missed tackle. The Alaalatoa try from burrowing over, there's no missed tackle there. Daugunu went over, there was no missed tackle on him. So it's not always just about missed tackles in terms of tries. Certainly the Lolesio one was a big time missed tackle, but yeah, despite the rain, the knock-ons is only 7-7, so both sides actually handled the ball pretty well. But the Welsh line-out struggled. I mentioned it a few key times. They finished 9 from 12, the Wallabies are 9 from 11. Both sides would like to be a touch better in that regard, but man, Daugunu was sharp, 114 run meters, a clean break, couple of tries, could have had a hat-trick, but was denied on a break. McReight had 14 from 15 tackles. Valetini, 12 carries for 49 metres. Some big efforts from some of the big Wallabies players for the Welsh. Both of them had 62 metres, was unlucky not to score a try of his own. Reffel had 19 from 20 tackles. So yeah, it's another loss for the Welsh. And it's a good start to Joe Schmidt's Wallabies campaign. But as I mentioned, I feel like Wales, if you just turn a few of those potential opportunities into points, you're a much better team than what the scoreline would show here. But you still got to give credit to them for coming back from 17-0 and not getting flogged. They made it a game multiple times. The Wallabies also showed some tenacity as well to constantly work hard. You know, Filipo got Daugunu chasing that one where he gets basically a free try and, you know, chasing hard after those restarts and whatnot. Really, really encouraging. South Africa's playing Ireland in a few hours. See how that one goes. But yeah, you guys let us know your thoughts on Wales and Australia. Where do you think these two teams are at the scheme of things? How do you think Australia is going to go in the Rugby Championship? Remember, they got the game against Georgia first. But you guys let us know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. Ta-ra.